So, I was actually for a little bit contemplating whether or not I actually wanted to make this video. Sorry I can't take my glasses off. I have to see because I cannot stand when there's such a glare. But I decided, I have a long drive ahead of me, and I'm the type of person where I talk a whole lot, and talking for me and communicating and sharing things and discussing things is like helping myself. It helps me process even better, and to really come in tune with my own awareness and what I'm feeling, what I'm going through, whatever. So that's why I'm sharing with you guys. Um, but what was on my mind was darkness, because I've really been thinking about, entering into different activities such as like performing arts, dance, creativity, artistic endeavors, and really just expressing myself and making a life that's really fueled by my creativity and not just what I do for commission, what I do, aesthetically for graphic design or for even for pleasure, but what I do because it's coming from a Christian part of me. And what I mean by that, I mean a cleaned place within me where it once was and now I am. I once was lost and now I'm found, etc., that type of stuff. But just really articulating to myself that a lot of my success, a lot of my growth, a lot of my transparency is going to come from the darkest places of me. And that's scary. That's an extremely vulnerable identity to have because you're constantly bearing yourself. You're constantly naked in front of people. And so there's always all your insecurities that any person at any moment can call upon and can, really ruin you in a lot of ways. And that's exactly what I'm kind of seeing and picturing, that my life is kind of going to be built upon in some ways, that opening up about my darkness is going to bring so much light for myself and for others. And that's really the mentality from which I've been trying to act upon, because that's been something that's been my wealth, that's been, my creativity is giving my health. Like, I had to admit that, we go through these darknesses, and oftentimes when we allow ourselves to really settle into the abyss, we allow ourselves to go deep and just be in that uncomfortable, unsettling place where just everything feels nasty, you feel wrong, you feel bad, you don't know why you feel what you feel, why you're going through what you're going through, but you're in this dark place. And just learning to accept that oftentimes that's where we find our creativity, that's where we find our most inspiration, that's where we find really what's going on in ourselves and within our minds and our hearts and what we really feel in different matters, because that's where we reside. That's why I really respect for myself, is that I reside in a dark place most of the time. I have a curiosity of darkness, so of course I'm going to constantly be going through these phases of transparency and then invisibility, because I want to know what it is that I'm revealing before anyone else can see it. But now I'm coming from a place where I'm flipping that. I'm just revealing it, and then I don't know what's happening. I'm just growing with it instead of trying to have control of it, because you really can't. But I was just thinking, how the dark, like my biggest spurts of growth have come from depression. Like, my greatest spurts of growth have come from the worst times of my life. Say for instance, like, if it wasn't for making mistakes and being really bad at something, or being really bad in a relationship with someone, I would have never learned forgiveness while in shame. I would have never learned how to navigate shame, or how to navigate forgiveness, and how to navigate being forgiving. If it wasn't for being betrayed, if it wasn't for betraying others, if it wasn't for making mistakes, I would not have learned the skills which other people really have come to appreciate me for. People appreciate, my candor. They like how I inspire laughter. They like how, I inspire many things. And a lot of that comes from being depressed. A lot of that has come from being ashamed, from being afraid, from being abused, from being irresponsible. A lot of the things that makes people light up and makes their eyes shine and just feel inspired are the very things that I, for a long time, struggled with. I have a story that I need to tell, because it breaks my heart that I experienced those things. And while at the time that I was experiencing them, I wouldn't tell anybody. And if there were people who were around who knew, it was like this unspoken silence where we don't talk about it, and that in itself just kind of added weight to the struggle of dealing with some of these situations that I was going through, So as I'm going forward, like, I have a lot of thoughts to put down on a, upcoming blog that I'm going to write about abuse. I'm going to write about, the relationship struggle of a transition. I'm going to write about, the mood swings that come and some of the things that have happened because of it. And yeah, a lot of it's because I was young and unstable, and it is what it is, but it's just so much awareness that needs to be imparted on so many different things, and I'm finding it uncomfortable for myself to continue to add to this distance within my own relationships and the potential relationships from building this between me and myself and the relationships I can build, because I'm afraid to bear light to the darkest parts of myself, and I'm just really tired of that. And I think a lot of times that's some of the depression that I go through, saying, hey, this is me, but it's really ugly, and just being too afraid to bear myself to others, to bear myself to all, and to bear myself to me above all else, because when you hide from other people, you're hiding from yourself, because other people are part of your awareness, other people are part of the experience. So when you shut other people out and you shut down from other people, you're shutting yourself off. It's not just you're cutting somebody off, you're cutting yourself off. But I know someone right now is like, not really, because there are different circumstances for which the language I'm using might apply, but the meaning that I'm applying does not apply to that usage that particular people might be disagreeing with in my usage of the term. I hope you could follow me on that. I got a little confused trying to say it, because yeah, sometimes you have to cut people off and it makes you grow. Yeah, I get it. But I'm just saying that when there's something in you that you're afraid to share with somebody because it's so precious, it's something you're so protective of, it's something you're so afraid of, even, when you do that, you're stopping, you're creating an inability for yourself to grow, and you're creating an inability for the people around you to grow. Like, I used to not tell my parents things after a while, because at first it was, I would tell them stuff and they didn't get it, or I wouldn't get the response I was looking for, what I needed. And so it just got to a place where I stopped. It was a habit where I wouldn't tell them things. I would confide in random people, and I was doing not just them a disservice, but myself, because I needed to know that they could be supportive of me. I just had to be open to what support for them was, and from what place they were able to support me. I had to allow them to grow to my level of consciousness on a certain topic. Yes, they're my parents, but they're not superior to me. Neither are they inferior, but they're not superior to me in the sense that we both have a lot to grow and become accustomed to and attuned to. So now that I've been experiencing that and expressing myself, I'm really learning how much of a reflection we all are upon one another. Like, I've experienced so much spiritual growth, and so for a while I was keeping it to myself, and I started to get to a point where I was really stagnant, and I started to then express myself, my growths, and some of the things that were happening to my parents, as weird as it might have sounded to them, because it was just abnormal, and so, but I said the reason why I experienced such a darkness was because I didn't experience my spiritual growth, because I was afraid of not being understood or supported. But the more I articulated my stance, my experience, my understanding, the less I needed their validation, the less I needed their support. But it just really created this space where they started to understand, okay, this is something that's real for me, this is something I experienced, and so they don't have to try and compensate for this space in me that they can tell is lacking, but they don't know what it is because I'm not articulating. But the more I take care of myself and just tell them this is what I'm going through, whether or not they're receptive, whether or not they understand it, whether or not, whatever the case may be, the more I'm able to grow myself, because I'm articulating something that needs to be put into through different interpretations. The things we learn, it's not just we learn something and we apply it to one place. We learn something and it affects everything. Like learning math, it doesn't just affect you from adding 1 plus 1 equals 2. It affects a lot of choices that you make, the depth of your knowledge and awareness of, the ability to calculate things, so everything is really holistic. And so understanding that, I just really been trying to undo myself and become unbandaged and just say, yes, I have scars and blah blah blah, and they're not pretty. So please take me right now, understanding that this is just a preview. This is just the preface to my statements and what's coming for tomorrow. So it's been about 10 minutes. I have about 3 more hours of driving, so I'm going to be contributing stuff as I am here right now. So I mean, just follow me. You know, my Instagram is Haze_. My newly created Snapchat, which I don't understand this business, but it's Haze Says, all one word, and my Twitter is Haze. You know, just if you want to find me, just Google Haze, you'll find me. So, I just really, more than anything, when I do what I do, I just want to be creative in my processing and understanding and learning, and at the same time show that to others, you know, just help other people create the same understandings or similar, whatever it is, whatever it turns out to be, you know. But I'm gonna say thank you for watching. I'm gonna continue talking to you all, so I'm gonna hit y'all later. Rate, comment, subscribe, whatever. Peace.